Are labels tools to help define ourselves, or are they boxes that limit us? Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Martin Cliffe here. Welcome to another video, and hopefully this is a little bit thought-provoking. I really don't like labels. I find that too much of the time we use them to define ourselves in increasingly smaller and smaller boxes, and I don't know that that is beneficial to really any of us. Now this came about really from the other day. I was reading an article talking about how there are, I think, going on for 60 different labels for someone to define where they are in terms of gender and sexuality if you are not cishet, which is the specific male or female gender you're defined at birth, and heterosexual. And that really saddened me. Not in terms of the fact that, I know lots of people who do not fall in that one or the other category, and I accept them for who they are, because I think that's what we have to do as humans. But that you have to create so many boxes to define yourself. It just, why can't we just accept that people are people and love people as people? I feel that this is in particular something that younger people are going to have to struggle with more and more. And I just struggle to come to terms with the fact that there can be such a need for tiny box labels, and okay, not all boxes are like there's a tiny, but that got me thinking further afield and thinking about the number of other things that we use in some ways to define ourselves, but that's really just so other people can put us in a box, or maybe so we can limit ourselves. One of the types of music, which is already a box in itself, I guess, with I think the highest numbers of subgenres, is metal music. And when it gets to the point that it's like symphonic power metal or black and death metal or whatever it is, okay, that may help in terms of getting an idea of what the general sound is, but that just then is limiting the potential discovery and audience to people. It's like, okay, I only like female-fronted symphonic power metal, so I'm only going to listen to Within Temptation and Nightwish and Epica and Delane. But maybe you would like something that's slightly outside that, but you never think to look outside that box. And as musicians, as guitarists, we often pigeonhole ourselves in awkward ways. So, if your playing is predominantly low gain, overdrive based and pentatonic based, you are a blues guitarist, regardless of whether or not actually you think far wider than that. It's just that is the area that you are most comfortable with. And in life, there are so many things that we use to define ourselves that I just feel is really unhelpful, and actually is really limiting ourselves and really limiting our opportunities to an extent, but also just limiting our horizon, limiting our viewpoint of the world. And I think this is why that there is so much intolerance and hatred in the world these days. If you are opposed to guns in America, you hate freedom, apparently. Well, no, I actually just hate guns because I think they're never the solution. And if you, the only reason to me to have a gun is if you are serving in the armed forces, which is a whole other thing that I think is slightly extreme in certain countries, or if you need it to defend your property from wild animals or whatever it is. There are reasons for having that kind of weaponry, but if you shouldn't need it if you're just driving to the supermarket. I don't hate freedom at all. I think that certain countries have a very skewed version of freedom, but I am all for freedom. That's part of the thing why I think boxes limit us. Labels limit us. You might label yourself as a minimalist. That is a box that limits your perspective. I can't, even though a lot of minimalist concepts and the things that I've gained from minimalism have helped me along my journey, and I've talked about this at length in other videos, I can't tag myself with that label of minimalist because there are aspects of my life that don't fit in with that, and I'm absolutely fine with the fact that aspects of my life don't fit in with that. So, I don't know, there are certain labels that I am comfortable with. Musician, because music is basically been the driving force of my life for 30 years out of my 44 at this stage. If not more. Some would say I've been a musician since I was about 5 or 6. Christian, again, over 30 years. It is a defining part of my life. It's a core part of my being. And that doesn't just mean that as a child I made a decision. That doesn't just mean that I am confident of where I'm going when I die. It also means that I'm seeking to actively live out a Christian life, benefiting other people and showing something of the love of Christ to people in my day-to-day life. And that's been one of the great opportunities, if very challenging situations, of this whole crisis in Eastern Europe, is that we've had an opportunity to show love in a real practical way to people we don't know and to support people, and it's been really rewarding, but definitely challenging. So yeah, Christian, definitely a core part of my being. The third label I'm comfortable with is husband, because again, that's something that for almost 20 years, in fact it will be almost exactly my 20th anniversary by the time this video goes live, a couple of days either way, depending what day I publish it, and something that I hope will be a label that I can wear for the rest of my life. We haven't been blessed with children, so I can't have the label father, but husband sits well with me. And that is about all I can do in terms of labels, I think. That I think so many times we come across people who are labelled as something, so therefore we ignore them or we block them out from certain things. Someone is homeless, so therefore we feel uncomfortable letting them into our church or even buying them a meal. Someone is disabled, or whatever term you want to use that, so you look at them differently. This has been a real personal challenge for us at the moment. One of the ladies who is staying with us is physically has physical limitations, which doesn't mean that she's not still a beautiful child of God and a wonderful person. She just has other abilities and has developed other mechanisms to adapt to life in a different way, because she can't get herself around in the same way that a normal person can. But yeah, she's smart, she's funny, she's a brilliant painter. So many different things. It's just a different person with different set of circumstances, really. And I admit, initially it was a little bit like, how do I respond? And then, it was literally, it took just a few hours until I realised I will respond in the same way I respond to anyone else. I will respond in love. I will support these people who've been through a traumatic situation, and whether they're physically able or disabled in any way, I'm going to respond in exactly the same way. If they need help, I'll offer it. Otherwise, I will just support them in prayer and support them in providing a bed and food and all that kind of thing, and just be there for them in whatever their needs are. I just really feel that so many labels just really restrict us. So I guess I would encourage people to just try and think outside whatever box they come in. It is easy as a white, male, able-bodied, straight man in Britain to just get on with life and ignore people who don't fit in those categories, because really we have the fewest restrictions on us, I guess, of pretty much any category. But then you move abroad and you realise that in some places you're not in the majority anymore, and you see that, okay, maybe some of the things that you assumed, that kind of idea of privilege, is just such a ridiculous concept, it's such a ridiculous notion, it's just a box that you put yourself in, and that affects in a negative way how you look at other people. And I just really want to encourage everyone really to think outside of their box, to strip away labels that maybe you've put on yourself or maybe you've put on other people, and instead just see them as people and just love them for who they are. Love yourself for who you are. Accept yourself for who you are. Not saying that you can't improve yourself. We can all make improvements on ourselves and our attitudes towards other people. But love yourself, accept yourself, strip away the labels, and just be a better you. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time.